You know, if you stop and think about what HSF is meant to do, it's meant to take the best and brightest young men and women in the Latino community and give them educational opportunities. And why is that important? It's important because between a fifth and a quarter of this country is going to be Latino. That's what's going to happen. And we need leaders. HSF is building those leaders. Carol is an example of one of those leaders. She is sitting there next to Michael Bloomberg. She is running Legal Momentum, one of the most important education and rights organizations in the country. And by the way, you know, Carol's a young woman. You're gonna have to give her this award again 10 or 15 years from now.
My mom being a teacher, education was the most important thing in my house. During the time that we were growing up, there was a lot of discrimination against Hispanics, and she took it very, very personally. There were a lot of issues around voting where they would turn away Hispanics on voting day. So my mother began tutoring people and training people on her own on how to vote, when they can turn you away, when they can't turn you away. And throughout all of that, there was always the theme of the law. That's not right, that's not legal, or there should be a law. That's not something that should be allowed to happen. So this is like what I grew up in. It was my first semester in law school, and the financial aid, what the little that they did give me didn't come in, and the rent was due. And I was like, oh my God, you know, what the heck am I gonna do? So I get a letter, right, that that I had won the scholarship. This was a godsend, and exactly when it came, I said, oh, I'm not gonna get evicted, I can buy that constitutional law book. And that is how I hold the Hispanic Scholarship Fund in my heart.
We're proud to be honoring Frances Robles and inducting her into the HSF Alumni Hall of Fame for her work as a journalist, first with the Miami Herald and now with the New York Times. And she's a perfect example of the type of alumni that we're proud to honor. All of her work covering stories that have an impact on our community has really made a difference.
I was born in East New York, Brooklyn, which is a pretty rough section of the area of Brooklyn. And then when I was pretty small, I moved to Howard Beach, which is a really all-white Italian suburb. Some days you'd come home and there would be a sign at the door saying, you know, blankety blank Puerto Ricans. And so I remember being 4 years old and being really emphatic. One of the racist signs was spelled wrong, and I was really ticked off. I was like, no, if you're gonna be leaving racist signs at my door, you're gonna spell it right. In a way, I'm grateful for growing up in this neighborhood and encountering those kinds of taunts when I was so young. It toughened me up, it got me ready for the real world, it got me realizing that you're not always welcome in every place, and that if the door isn't open for you, maybe you have to push it a little bit yourself. I was a commuter student when I was in college. I spent my first 3 years living in Queens and commuting to Manhattan, but I really wanted to live on campus, and I wanted to be closer to the media world. So I decided that I really wanted to live on campus, but I couldn't afford it. So I applied for scholarships, and one of the scholarships that I got was from the National Hispanic Scholarship Fund. And I was able to use that money to pay for a year living on campus at NYU. And so what did that do for me? It meant that I could, instead of working nights at a restaurant down the block from my house in Queens, I worked nights answering the phones and running copy at the New York Times. And it provided me the opportunity to know this is possible for you. I'm going to be able to work here in the New York Times. I'm not going to stay here and answer the phones forever. I'm going to work here and I'm going to be a reporter.
Every HSF alum who goes on to have an illustrious career, every HSF alum who becomes a credit to HSF, who can point to the Hispanic Scholarship Fund and say, you invested in me, and today I am doing what I'm doing for myself, my family, and my community because of that investment. If we want more people who we're honoring tonight, we're gonna have to support HSF. Not just yesterday, not just today, but tomorrow. Because tomorrow's leaders are in college today.
Carol and Frances, I want to congratulate you on your induction into the HSF Alumni Hall of Fame. On behalf of our students, our scholars, our board of directors, our staff, I want to thank you for being such a great example of what it is to be an HSF alum. Thank you.